Welcome to Poets and Pies. This program is produced and hosted by M.L. Liebler, internationally recognized Michigan poet, editor, publisher, literary activist, university professor, and performance artist. The series is sponsored by the Detroit Writers Guild and the Detroit Public Library, Maine, under the auspices of librarian Genevieve Caruso. Entitled A Special Beat Virtual Poets, this episode of Poets and Pies was presented on March 31st, 2021, and features poets Danny Schott, Pamela Twining, David Cope, and Andy Clausen. Here now is M.L. Liebler.
Danny Schott is a longtime from Hoboken, New Jersey, a longtime participant in the national scene. He had a magazine or a journal, actually, that was called Long Shot. That I don't know if it's still coming out.
No, it's
okay, but he's moved over to the Tribes, and he's working. I think he's working with Quincy Troop because I'm part of something, and I've been talking to Danny. So. He's a longtime active on the New York scene. He's a great guy, a great poet, and I look forward to hearing him read his work and tell us anything that he wants to tell us about what's happening. Of course, nothing's happening anywhere, but I was going to say on the Hoboken, New York scene. Please welcome to the stage, Danny Schott.
Thank you. I just want to say, actually, I'll raise my glass to this. It's an honor to read with Andy and Pamela and David Cope. I've known Andy and David for a long, long time, and they've been inspirations. And Pamela, your work never ceases to amaze me. Here's to you guys. Okay. Now, the poems I'm going to read, all of them have been written in the past year, and they sort of go in chronological order. I'm not going to talk much about them. I'll just read one after the other, okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Give thumbs up if you can. Okay, good. Slumber. 1. Caroline shakes me awake. What were you dreaming? Chupacabra, I say. I was fighting little chupacabras for a place to suckle at our mother's many teats. Draw it, she says. Make me a picture. 2. What the fuck? Caroline says after I punch her in my sleep. I dreamed you were trying to steal my breath away. I had to get it back or die trying, I say before falling asleep 5 seconds later. 3. I stand on stage not remembering the words or how to play the guitar, useless in my hands. I am barefoot and my feet are bleeding. This century has been cruel and unusual, I sputter to a hearty chorus of boos and derision. 4. Judging the Comic-Con pageant, I caution the contestants to maintain their distance. Look at the knockers on her, says my pal Mark. Shh, I say, they can hear you. Upon awakening, I wash my hands, start the coffee, put on my mask, and retrieve the scattered trash the garbage men have left behind. Hope. An open letter to posterity from a minor poet of the 21st century. Moondog said it long ago. Bye, 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 Manhattan. So long, Steve Delachinsky and Steve Cannon, the Grassroots Tavern in Carnegie Deli, St. Mark's Books and Sidewalk Cafe. Say adios to living in a zip that starts with 1. Can we hope again to afford a Yankees game, a Broadway play, or a taxi ride across town? Where have all the people gone? This is for you, Larry Kelly, fighting for breath on the whirring ventilator of fate. What can we say about hope when there isn't hope? We can say this. It's time to get to work, to clean up the mess we have left our children and our children's children, as well as our parents' generation, so we are seen in a kinder light by history and any God who takes an interest in the daily lives of humankind. We must retrain ourselves to look for the good in fellow humans, not just mistakes and moments of weakness. We need to remind ourselves the measure of life is the journey undertaken, not the rewards we accrue at any given time. Wreckage. what I know. Our country has gone crazy. The system in need of repair or perhaps a complete overhaul. We have to work harder to make a fairer and a better place to live. Today is uncomfortable for most everyone. We can't not talk about racism any longer. We need to hear each other's pain. What I hear. Sirens, weeks and months of sirens, the totemic sound of America today. Helicopters flying low overhead, chants resounding through the steel and granite canyons. I can't breathe. Black lives matter. Stop killing Black people. The pop, pop, pop of flash grenades, the close range bang of rubber bullets, tear gas snaking through city streets, wooden batons cracking against bones. I hear America breaking piece by piece. What I see, mostly on TV. Angered citizens marching through streets to call attention to the murder of an unarmed Black man by the name of George Floyd. Say his name again, George Floyd. Add the name Ahmaud Arbery. Add the name Breonna Taylor. Add the name fill in the blank. Add the name fill in the blank. Police fire tear gas and rubber bullets at protesters so a Bible-toting villain can pose for a photo op. Macy's Herald Square on fire. Ominous graffiti of rage, the grand concourse in shards of glass and looted merchandise, Fort Greene a daily tinderbox, smell the brimstone in the air. Remember when we thought 2016 the worst year ever? I'm so tired of all this winning. What I feel, I don't know. Sad, angry, scared, despaired, inspired, brokenhearted, empathetic, hopeless, hopeful, words that have no place in a well-written poem. Is justice anything more than punishment for those we think have done us wrong? A younger friend asked me if I think things will get better after this is over. I couldn't give him an answer, though I believe as soon as this shanda of a president is removed, we begin to heal. Deep down, I believe things have got to change. Just don't tell me your vote doesn't matter. These days, we said our goodbyes and told stories about Bob, my father-in-law, at the cemetery in August. We told our stories and said our goodbyes to my sister Carol at the funeral home in July. We drank wine and watched scary movies at Mary Ann's in June in an attempt to forget the world. We drove north and west and hiked in unknown parks in May. We went for long walks in April and pissed on deserted streets. We sheltered in place, watched cable news, and tried to stay out of each other's way in March. Remember when nostalgia was looked down upon? We try not to dwell in the past, though the present is a searing plain defined by whom and what we miss, while the future is more unknowable than ever. I am frightened by my family's fear, as well as the lack of fear by strangers. Most everyone has become a stranger. The smiles behind the masks unseen as I religiously plod today's 10,000 steps. The USA dismantled by design as we bounce between crises. Are we even a people anymore, or a loose confederation of oppositional grievances separated by geography, race, and class? This year's graduates will remember us as a sorry footnote to their personal miseries. Fire on the East Coast, flooding, fire on the West Coast, flooding in the East, wicked winds in the middle. Maybe somebody already told me these words try to say too much, but what's the choice when Judgment Day comes around? Our best answer is love and reconciliation, though the lingering question remains, what's next? Liberation, revolution, revelation? When we come out on the other side, we need to build a better world than the one we've left behind. These days will pass. Until then, we must draw upon our collective strength and grit. There will be live music again and dancing and the remnants of a social life. We have said our goodbyes. Let's meet again further on down this twisted road. Damnation. This was written in January. Walking the Hoboken waterfront to hold off the doldrums lurking behind each lonely day, I searched the eyes of my neighbors, frightened, hopeful, distracted. We can't continue to feel like victims of each other, a death spiral of empty choices offered in this zero-sum game of Russian roulette. Shots are fired from behind a door as the White Walkers swarm through the hallway. Having breached the gates, they arrive, enraged, ready to chew up all that lies inside. Like a serpent eating its tail, we go around in circles, chasing lie after lie, debunking alternative facts. America has suffered a collective failure of imagination, allowing ourselves to be driven to the abyss, and must move past preventive strategies into the punishment phase of restoring democracy. A tentacled specter has been unleashed, infecting our aspirations for a better union with the dizzying swirl of apocalyptic room. A disgraced president's cult of death cannot become a way of life. We've been held hostage by the unholy forces of doom, whose malignant shadows are worse than we feared when we feared the worst. Racism is our original sin, and a reckoning is due. Let us atone for our transgressions through admission, action, penance, and maybe, just maybe, salvation. 2 years ago, we wondered if we were living through the equivalent of 1933, but now we know we're in 1938 and Kristallnacht just happened again. Our parents and grandparents were the original Antifa, and we celebrate their bravery and sacrifice. We have allowed pretenders to wrap themselves in the worn flag of patriotism without a counter-narrative of our own. It has fallen on us to oversee the denazification of the American military and police. Though technology allows interconnectedness, we have built walls, physical and metaphysical, holding us trapped in a state of perpetual stasis, cut off from each other and the rest of the world. Social media has shamed us into impotence, keyboard warriors helplessly posting sad and angry dispatches from our ravenous screens. We, and let me be clear, we on the left, need to be less rigid, more agile than we have ever been before. We have sat by as the right has amassed arms for years, and we have every reason to be frightened, but courage happens when we are afraid, yet still carry on. The mythologies we have comforted ourselves with have been revealed, stories to keep us still. Justice is blind, in God we trust, work will set you free, all you need is love. One side speaks of paranoid conspiracies unleashed by tweet from a deranged head of state, while the other speaks to itself in codified language nobody else can or wants to understand. The problem is, no one else wants to live in the nation we imagine, while at the same time, nobody wants to imagine the country in which we live. Though our past looms vulture-like, awaiting the final spark of animation to flicker and fade, we have to look forward to rebuild our infrastructure and collective soul. Though the hounds of hell are yapping at our heels, God give us the strength to take the mind leap to live again, beginning with affordable housing, living wages, free education, healthcare accessible to all. Let us begin with integrated streets, live music, a Green New Deal, and poetry from the heart. Let's live for the day we can dance maskless and free. Let us begin again. Okay, almost done.
Danny shot.
Wait, I got one more.
Oh, okay. I thought you said stop.
No, I did not say that. Family history, according to Carol. Carol is my sister. She is 13 years older than me. She is suffering from ALS and dementia. A few years ago, I did the ALS challenge and posted it on Facebook. I got 167 likes. Now it's real. Carol is the smart one, I joke to the new social worker. I was a teacher. She is well respected in her field, I elaborate. The Nazis killed our whole family. Not really, otherwise we wouldn't be here, I correct. They killed our brother. That's true, I affirm. I'm sorry, says the social worker. When I was little, Susan threw my toys out the window of our 4th floor apartment in the Bronx. I'm sorry, says the social worker. She tried to throw Danny out the window, but I saved him and put him on the couch. That's why I'm here now, I tell the social worker. Susan is crazy. Is that what's happening to me? Our sister is autistic and schizophrenic and retarded, I chime in. You're not supposed to say retarded anymore, Carol corrects. I know, but she is. No offense taken, says the social worker. My husband, Rich, was abused when he was little. That's what he says, I add. Danny thinks we should be divorced, but he's a good man. No, he's not, I correct. Our mother was crazy. I think it runs in the family. No, Carol. Mom was just fragile. Donald Trump is a Nazi. I won't argue the point, the social worker and I reply simultaneously. Carol is doing what Mom used to do, which always embarrassed me. She's telling her sad story to a stranger. Now I'm doing it. You're lucky you have a brother who looks out for you, says the social worker. The Nazis killed our brother. I want a cigarette. Can you light it for me? Of course. Dad always said, turn out the lights. I want to run out of the apartment and scream and rage between the cars in the parking lot. I want to tear my flesh and throw rocks through the windows to hear the sound of breaking glass. I sit at the table and refocus the conversation. We need help. That's it now.
All right. Thank you, Danny. I wanted to, because I was caught off guard by the Zoomer, just to fill you in a little bit more on Danny. Of course, a publisher of Long Shot Arts and Literary, but born in the Bronx, raised in Dumont, New Jersey by German Jewish refugees. He has spent over 30 years as an NYC public high school teacher, serving in South Bronx, Harlem, and Brooklyn. Schatz lives in Hoboken, where he is the poet in residence of the Hoboken Historical Museum. So, Danny Schatz. Next up is going to be the Pamela. I think, is it Twining or Twinning? Pamela.
Twining.
Twining, that's what my gut said. Pamela Twining lives in Woodstock, New York, where she raised her children, studied organic farming and healing with herbs. She has read her poetry in many venues alongside Andy Clausen, Jeff Panyavich, Antler, Peter Lamborn Wilson, Mikhail Horowitz, Ann Waldman, Thurston Moore, often accompanied by cosmic legends. Over the years, she has developed a very personal style, sometimes tender and lyrical, sometimes brutally frank, resonating with the wisdom of her partly Native American heritage. Her work has appeared in Big Scream, Napalm Health Spa, the Cafe Review, Big Hammer, Poetry Bay, Heyday Magazine, and others. She is the co-producer with...
I think he said that.
Okay.
He did.
She is the co-producer with Andy Clausen, who you just heard from, of the annual Janine Pomeroy Vega Poetry Festival, and her new book is Sun, Moon, Dance. It was released in 2015. And Pamela, I've seen her read. She's a great reader, and she's been in Detroit before as well. Please welcome Pamela Twining.
Thanks. This is called California is Burning from last year's Big Scream magazine. California is burning. Brazil is on fire. Australia in flames. One can't be a poet and be silent. Broken words shatter worlds with lies. Stories told, retold. Compelling fantasies of life as it was wished to be. Seen through veils of childhood dreams. Meanwhile, too many have had their eyes closed forever. Shielding his wife from a bully, shot while backing away, he went back inside and died on the floor in front of his 5-year-old child. Stand your ground. License to kill in America. Broken hearts, broken minds, caged children emerge disconnected, The emptiness of their eyes shows blankness of lost memories, suffering with no recourse, the magic of loving touch dispersed in darkness. The sun pours down impossible liquid buttercup, sunflower warm, melted gold, heaven's wealth sliding sinuously, enveloping the earthbound, should have been joyous, reaching upward, to bathe, engulf, immerse, all in sweet drawn butter, molten, incomprehensible love, held in stillness, but slipping away momentarily. Such an ineffably beautiful world, unless there are no windows, no doors, cinder block walls painted to look like outside, a deep horror of false color and light. Indonesia is in flood. Puerto Rico is drowning. Millennial rains fall without end. Africa's soil is cracked and dry. Even the rich are carrying buckets from the well. The melting Arctic permafrost releases long dormant diseases of ancient days, vast movements of people shifting from ancestral lands. The cries of family bones ignored that the family may survive. I heard that half of American youth have never heard of Auschwitz. No wonder the light is fading. We all bleed inside each other's wounds, the wells of memory shallow in spite of centuries. Silt washes down from chosen ignorance to fill, obscure, delude, remove the mirrored depths, all source of reflection. California is burning. Brazil is on fire. Australia in flames. Indonesia's in flood. And Puerto Rico trembling, shuddering as Earth tries to shake us off. Billions of creatures, whole species lost. Our final century dawns unknown, unacknowledged. If death has a memory, she will sing for us at the end. Yonandio, Yonandio. And next, I'm going to read, this has a little story which was written during the Kavanaugh hearings. Confidior, I confess. It was my fault for being young, female, and alone on dark streets. It was my fault for speaking to a man I didn't know. It was my fault for wearing shorts, tight jeans, fitted slacks, a gauzy skirt, a long skirt, a short skirt. It was my fault for thinking it was just a friendly conversation. It was my fault for letting him buy me a drink. It was my fault for walking home from the bus stop at night. It was my fault for not being violent enough, for not screaming loud enough, for being so scared no sound would come out at all. It was my fault. It was my fault. It was my fault. I confess, I bare my soul, I bury my soul, tell the almighty powers, the police, the teachers, my parents, and they tell me it was my fault, that I shouldn't have been there, that I shouldn't have worn that I should have been home, that I should have been studying, that I should have been decently silent, that I never should have imagined, laughed, accepted that drink, walked down that street. You get what you ask for. You get what you deserve. I have sinned exceedingly in thought, word, and deed, and my judges are men and mock virgins, women who have never looked outside the world described by patriarchy, defined by the judges, men whose hands are not clean, women who have never questioned the boundaries because when they stepped outside, they were punished, much the same as I will be. The only forgiveness is silence. The only forgetting is silence. The silence is deafening. Mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. Alien lullaby. There's violence in the solitary crib, a dark ache of enemy, dissociation. Bleeding is feeling, pain equals pleasure. The tyranny of words that shape the consciousness from the moment of its winking on, sliding in, opening up, round syllables resonating, bounding, reverberating, roaring inside the unformed mind. With what music, what songs do we fill the alien unfoldings of a million billion infant futures as they lie helpless in our arms, drinking in our emotions and prejudices with the reverb of milk, their fern-like cheeks unfurling against our breathing, humming, vibrating breasts? Just noise to the unschooled ear. The definitions coming later, the syllables take on meaning, and the tones we've come to know as the rhythm of days, our actions based in primal memory, grow from feelings of love or abandonment, anger, meanness, comfort or blessing, associated with those ethereal sounds, a heritage of the prelingual, the music of our words in the land of first contact.
Mhm.
And this is called He Says. He says he loves my tree trunk legs, wrapped hard around as he plunges into dark forest, wet, drawn into depths not touched before. His sinuous glide, his questing tongue, his thirst for the lost stream bed, the fragrant place to spend unending night. He says he loves my stretch-marked belly, round with aftermath of birth, striations bold and white against tan skin, elastic youth surrendered, taught, and then some, like a sausage bursting from its casing, spilling life for spirit's eventual delectation. He says he loves my fallen breasts, no pert and innocent globes of light, attracting men of any age like moths to flame, but redolent of milk days past, sustenance taken and supplicants gone, the world opened out to their glowing futures, source depleted, but hungry still. His impatient lips demand, provide fulfillment. He says he loves my wilting neck, tall columns still proud but flagging, skin obeying planetary laws and heading south. His eyes still drawn above to the smile he's always cherished, diamond flashing. Pretty girl, he says. He says he loves my gray-streaked hair, decades long. He loves it long to bury hands in, to breathe in, to inhale soft like feathers, to trail across his skin, fluttering, there, not there, as fleet as life, skimming across the surface of his mind like memory. He says he loves the way I laugh in orgasm, not threatened, as some have said, to joy in that expression, mirth, and lie exhausted, inventing poems, only pulling away to write them down. Wild poet woman, he says. And there was this, yeah. This is from issue 60 of Big Scream. Earth abides. The time of no time, mother shaking to her marrow, a time of madness and of spirit. The monsters that walk amongst us, the fires of their hatreds burn unceasing, but the seed, the fruit will live longer, still germinate in utter silence. Darkness, mulch, and mold, mycelia, life, even in the oppressive heat of a plague summer. Treating others' bodies as if they were their own, touch designed as if to claim a right. Out into the night mists rising, darkening. In a time when there are no roads, paths create themselves. In a time when there are no clocks, imagine. I taste the depths of you, breathe you in, swirl obscure, completing the darkness, swift blade of the night. This is your dance. No water, no food. Thank God if there is a God or gods for you. Jealous of the rain caressing your skin, wanting your touch above all things. Spill the last of your life into me. What we undertake for each other, this dance, no hesitation, no fear. I acknowledge the light in you, and earth abides. Thanks. I wanted to be a little bit positive towards the end, I guess. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Pamela. What a joy, man. Make me, I'm missing Woodstock. I don't know if Ed's out there watching, but I told him that you guys were on tonight to draw out the local crowd from Woodstock. I wanted to also mention that this is for those, the uninitiated here, this is a Poets and Pies event that we're doing with the Detroit Public Library main branch, thanks to Genevieve Caruso, who helps me with this. Normally, we have pie and coffee and listen to these poets live at the library in the Explorer Room. And of course, we haven't done that for a year or so, but we will be back at some point. So you'll have to just kind of get by without pie and coffee unless you brought your own. BYOB. So that just so you know that this really did have pies at it for the years that we were doing it. David Cope, he's born in Detroit, Michigan. He has his degrees from University of Michigan, Western Michigan. Married 50 years. How about that? 50 years, man. 3 grown children. He taught Shakespeare, drama, creative writing, multicultural literature, women's study at Grand Rapids Community College for 22 years. And this is my favorite part of it. A school custodian 18 years before that. He also is involved with the Kent County Dyer Ives Poetry Competition. He's the first place adult category winner, and going back to the 70s. There's so many things on here, but he's in the, he did this anthology with my Ridgeway Press of Grand Rapids poets in the 21st century. That was in 2013. He had his correspondence in 2017, David's correspondence of David Cope and Allen Ginsberg, 76 to 96, is still unpublished, but looking for a publisher. And he has a new book out. He was in China. This guy does everything. He was in China at a major poetry conference. He's edited for years the Big Scream or Big Scream magazine, where you can find poems by all of the writers tonight and then many of the poets who have gone on since left the planet. But they were in there, and he had a new book come out recently, and I'm not seeing the name of it, but he'll tell us. And his papers are at the University of Michigan, where they've compiled them. So please welcome David Cope from Grand Rapids or Western Michigan.
Am I talking now? I guess so. Yeah, okay. Well, my book was Bridge Across the Pacific, Leaves for Chenjiang, Guanyin, and Dufu. It's a hell of a conference I went to. The poetry periodical in China paid for the whole thing. So I was very happy about that because I didn't have money to go over there. 13-hour flights. I'll never do it again. Okay. I'm going to start in Detroit on a flight to Paumanok. Hope everybody's familiar with Paumanok, Long Island, where Walt Whitman was born. Flight to Paumanok, a still station. JFK, full stop. 50-mile-an-hour winds gusting even higher over NYC. Swirling. We deplane at Detroit, city of my birth. Airline agent beleaguered and irate passengers wanting answers now. Arms gesticulating, faces contorted. Others phone those they love, lament misconnections, or watch the slow rolling clouds, bright light and horizon with its promise. A still station now. Fellow passengers share tales as I outline Walt's endlessly rocking cradle. The bird's lament that gave him his calling. The life of singing words as comfort in this sea of sorrow. Even as I too am headed for his Paumanok, where I'll share hours with old friends, make new ones. I'll sing my poems, recitative in East Setauket and Garden City, visit Walt Whitman birthplace, and wonder how the Walt Whitman Mall across the street might sit with him in these latter days when the heart itself is a commodity. I hear the morning bird in the swamp, even as the agent announces we'll take off in an hour. Ah, generous spirit of singing words abiding still. Okay, then I'm going to go to China next. This is from the top step of Guangde Temple. I was in Suining in Sichuan, and that town boasts that it is the home of Guanyin, who is the female form of Avalokitesvara, the Buddhist god of compassion and mercy. I've long been devoted to her, and I was really amazed that I was going to her hometown. And Zhenjiang was there too, one of the forerunners of the Tang Dynasty. And one of the things they had us do the first day we were there was go to the Guangde Temple. From the top step, I climbed all the way to the top. Suining rests in its lotus cradle of wetlands among blue mountains beyond mountains. Guanyin's poured waters in streams and passing clouds, a stillness for the beating heart. Zhenjiang saw the shattered bones of warriors, sorrows of court and commoners, stood fast for harmony, wept at the losses and sought refuge. Now, a grizzled old man scratches his head on the bridge across the Fujian River. Traffic races, changing lights, horns frantic and restless, yet at the shrine, a small boy helps his grandpa lift a leg over the high doorway. Poets drink from the sacred well. Aged monk hammers the Dharma fish, echoing through the centuries. Okay, then this is one that I don't know how it came on me, but it was where I was. Unbidden dream, a melancholy evening, calm and free. I must speak of the insistent melancholy of age, regrets behind the shared laughter, endless smiles. My small boat lingers in the eddies among still waters moved only by perch, fanning slowly in shallows. I lift my head and see the blue heron above, ancient presence. The seasons roll on, the sun, now obscured, now the moon, the body falling apart, gradually shutting down, memories' tales unfolding like quick films from another life. Moments rising to feverish, yet still near silent crescendo. Shared warmth in a friend's touch, radiant eyes, lingering in a dream. I pass through the open door in moonlight among stars, leave the grave to grave business. Dawn comes quickly. I send blessings to Zhang, wherever he may be now, his last message speaking of high blood pressure, creatinine, now prolonged silence after completing his life's work. Dear friend, singing quietly beyond the dynamo of dreams. I am indeed surrounded by spirits day and night, old loves still palpable, present, as are the sorrows, regrets, filling the many paths with unheard silences among the busy living with their chatter and deadlines. Tonight, my Kuza flowers fully as Alan's did in years after he passed, and the clematis, which struggled years to simply climb in the orchid porch doorway, now frames it with wild, open, purple flowers. Here is a moment to honor the passing cortege, blindly living among the waking dead. The heart endures for now. The song rises even in this quiet moment, audible for those with ears to hear it. Chant the unbidden dream. Okay. I timed this 3 times. I got a mess of short poems, but they're 15 minutes. Every time they come into that. So this is a desperate mother in the Myers in Grandville. Almost in tears. After hours in stores with empty shelves, empty coolers, no milk for her babies, no toilet paper nor wipes, after fearful hoarders had grabbed everything and run for the registers. The old man could not help, suggested she return in the morning when the store restocks shelves. Come early, while these others sleep. In the morning, he returned for his own distilled water and milk, the shelves restocked, he wondering how she'd gotten through the night, if she'd found her way. And then, well, it was my hometown, but thank you. Hi, Jack. Silent March, candlelight vigil for George Floyd. The march was to be silent meditation from Rosa Parks Circle, past the cop station, to the park, candlelight vigil memory for George Floyd. Never got to candles nor light. Downtown erupted, cars aflame, windows smashed, the vault of midnight looted, Cuban Sanchez restaurant, public library, art museum, windows shattered. So many of these rioters were laughing white boys, too much like Boogaloo Boys or the agent provocateur, inciting violence, cursing cops and bystanders in Ann Arbor and Detroit in the late 60s. Proved when Allen Ginsberg sat with me over FOIA papers showing FBI connections then. Ah, Charnel House, where we live. Pandemic deaths, riots, rebellions across the nation. Leaders threatened by thugs with assault rifles. The president's threats and lies. What angels hover over us now? What ghost riders fill our evening skies? What dreams flee this night? Ah, George Floyd, peaceful spirit, be with us now. And then there's a series from the election all the way through about January 20. It's not pretty, as I'm sure you know, and as we've already heard from others. This is Out of the Shadow. It's one of those poems, How Fast Can You Go? I don't know if I can do this. Well, we'll see. After lies, more lies, bullying, walling out refugees, cutting treaties, accords, insulting allies, mimicking tyrants, ripping children from their parents' arms, black men and women strangled and shot by police, marching goons that pose with the Bible never read. After so many dead on ventilators, choking apart from their families while they die, the toll now rising past 250,000 gone forever in memory and sorrow. After lockdowns and alienation across the land, militias threatening elected officials, the human touch, kind eyes and hearts lost, one wonders how we survived to see this day. Yearning for Guan Yin's poured waters, for mercy and quiet compassion. I too have failed. So, dancing in the street, Philadelphia, PA, city of brotherly love, shrine of Continental Congress, framer of the Constitution, delivered us. Now resurrected for the new day, dancing with the band and set free at last. Here in the dooryard, Bradford pears, autumn leaves glow like a torch in the sunrise. The sign raised for the tired and poor, those too sick to sing. The immigrant child caged in squalor, separated from her family. Black women and DACA kids raising their eyes. When new night unfolds, twilight now a mystery, it is a night for dreams at last. For turning in a half moon swathed in stars, bathed in mist where the lovers float in a sea of silence, soaring toward dreams in daybreak. New light, the shore where clear life may begin again. And there's only a couple more of these, and I gotta move to the next phase. Let all storms bring healing rain. Spurious lawsuits, hearsay lies, Giuliani, Sejanus to his Tiberius, all tossed as trash. Supreme Court's curt denial, armed thugs, senators' stools, spineless suckers, howling across the nation, Confederate threats, gnashing teeth. The way will be torturous in spite aimed at all hope. Yet Whitmer, Benson, and Nessel all call for compassion and grace, facing down death threats. Now vaccines leave Portage. Biden and Harris will be certified. The long saga will begin. In memoriam, 300,000 now dead. Massive grief memorialized. Their love kept safe as memory. Gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhi svaha. Silence in the sunny room. Let all storms bring healing rain. In the last of these ones, and then I've got to move on for the finale. A day. Oh shit, got a Charlie horse. Too much coffee. A day, excuse me, a day that shall live in infamy. Smashed windows, senators, representatives in hiding, bullets through doors, officers ransacked, bestial traitors, 6 dead, a nation shaken, all perpetrated by the worst president in U.S. history. Thanks to legislators burning late night oil, standing, signing, new president elected amid the losers' horrors. Hallelujah, O better angels, stay by us now. And then there's two to go. They're all both short. Stillness, silence. Stillness, silence of the land. January morning. White pine lateral branches, frenzy of witch hazel, yellow flowers, red twig dogwoods above the snow, holly, young kuza straight and true, cedar with its nest of cardinals, river birch peeling bark, and now flicker at the suet feeder, crazy fat squirrel upside down hanging on a seed cake, my 73rd birthday. And I want to end with one that is a dear favorite of mine that I have never read publicly. It was written in 1976. I had just begun corresponding with Allen Ginsberg, and I asked him to send a copy of my little chapbook, Stars, to Charles Resnikoff because I valued that man deeply and his poetry. Alan wrote back and said that, alas, Charles has died. So, and that letter is a very beautiful moment too. He remembers supping with him in his apartments on the west side and other things. But anyways, The Rain. This is in memoriam Charles Resnikoff. Looking for it, silence is nowhere. The knife blade scrapes on the cutting board. Children yell across the meadow. The sad news reaches me. This gray morning has made me turn again. Now the rain gusts over the pavement. Another is gone. the old poet whose steely voice shook compassion from sorrow, celebrated the worker's endurance, the delicate heart, even in irony. When I'm full of sadness, the wind comes to me. Where there's sorrow, let me be there. Thank you.
Wow, David. Woo! Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Great reading.
Thank you.
And when I saw you on the virtual Paterson, New Jersey reading, I meant to compliment you how fit you look. How you're so fit during COVID. You must be working out, doing push-ups, running around the neighborhood. You look very, very well.
Thank you.
I trust that's true.
Yeah, I live by St. Benedict's rule: 4 hours of manual labor and 4 hours of intellectual and spiritual labor every day.
Oh, wow.
But I'm following my dad when it comes to diet, and I lost 86 pounds after I retired from teaching. That seat work will turn you fat. There's no doubt about it.
I hear you. I've lost 40 during COVID. I know most people are putting weight on, but I thought if I'm not going to learn something during this, then forget it, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Thanks. That was great. And I know your book, isn't your book published on such a great press, the Ghost Pony Press, was it?
Oh, that was the Invisible Keys new and selected poems, which was Ghost Pony over in Madison, Wisconsin. It's Ingrid Swanberg's press.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you. That was a great reading, man. And you can find him in Respect, my anthology of Detroit poets on Detroit music from the Michigan State Press. So last on the program that I called the second generation of beat poets is Andy Clausen. I've known Andy for a number of years, and he's done a lot of things like David as well, bricklayer and physical worker and poet. And here he left the Marines and began working in poetry in 1965. He has traveled and read his poetry all over the world, including New York, Alaska, Texas, Prague, Kathmandu, Amsterdam, and he has taught at the Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics in Boulder, Colorado, and elsewhere. For 12 years, he led poetry workshops in the New York State Prison. Janine did that as well, and she took me to prison. Took me and Professor Louis to prison, as a matter of fact. He did that for 12 years. Most of his life was in blue-collar labor, including construction worker, taxi driver. His latest book, and this is an important book, is Beat, the Latter Days of the Beat Generation, a First-Hand Account on Auto Media. And many young writers of an earlier generation wished to grow into writing life that included friendship and big readings with core beat poets. This memoir recounts the life and perspective of the one poet who got to do those things. It has been called an essential beat text, which I will agree with. His poetry books include Home of the Blues and 40th Century Man, and Without Doubt from the Zeitgeist Press. Please welcome Andy Clausen from Woodstock, New York.
Yeah. Facing, getting closer to finiteness, and and confronting it. I did this poem, just remembering some random high moments in the life. It's called From Oakland to Eternity. Hoo-wee! That cry of Oakland joy when it was the Brooklyn Newark of the West. My old hometown, we were there, 5 years ago? Many buildings the same, yet a bit smaller. Everything had shrunk over the 50 years. I got word now, it's a regular Williamsburg. No longer Jack London, black, brown, white, bronze, every hue, working class through and through. No longer Jack Black, no longer Cleaver and Newton. A social laboratory conveniently attached to Berkeley and its lefties and the scholastics, across the bay from San Fran's irrepressible bohemia, burbling and burgeoning, I don't reckon I'll see a world as innocent again. We believed mostly good things. An intensely absorbing, nonchalant walking home 14-year-old on a starlit, moon-big summer night. A dozen blocks from home with a bounce in my step 2 feet above the sidewalk. Feeling like a member of brave, legendary explorers, saturated with wondrous awe. I had only been to this area on my bike before, a single-gear, big tire Columbia. There, bouncing along, I was as happy about nothing I ever would be. Or when the 18-year-old girl to my 22-year self did it and she exclaimed, "You do it good." And we married and we had children. Or when the mown grass blades smelled like they came from a dimension of magnificent pleasure that endures forever. Then in my late teens, we fought like cubs, astonished one could get hurt, fists sailing and stomping shins with boots. If only I could have traded that bovine manure for a kiss from Sandra or Diane instead of alarming the neighborhood street with our rude ignorance. 1969, the salmon jumping up the 12-foot falls, many failing to make it. Mouth of Ketchikan Creek, watching out the library window, Wells' outline of history on lap. The Whatever It Is Festival at SF State, where fishermen stamped our foreheads with the dot of enlightenment. What color you want? A thunder sculpture in the pool by Ron Boise, the one who did the tiny metal Kama Sutra sculptures on the beach, photographed to look life-size. I had his Kama Sutra calendar. Kesey was there on the covert. On stage, the Dead Airplane, Quicksilver, Bloomfield, Elvin Bishop, Mimi Farina, Nick Gravinatis, Pigpen, jamming, dancing the body electric in the college cafeteria. Splitting Carista House off Telegraph, dropping a gift, hundreds of mics from the Brothers of Eternal Love, gripping the wheels, zooming the bridge to Baghdad by the Bay. Hell's Angel Ball, the Fillmore District Warehouse, Janice and Big Brother demand. Light is faster than sound. You know you got it if it feels good. Between sets, she flirts with me. I'm on Baby Woodrow's opium riddling shrooms, purple barrels, and cave beer. I saw a lot I couldn't do anything about. Up in Vida, Oregon, the time my kid's mom's holding Cassidy, our infant, as I drove, she sang in a wondrous tongue, immediate, ancient, authentic, shocking. Words, not just sounds, mysteriously scary, austere. I had heard this language thousands of years ago, a message from the origin, and my tears were for the beauty in 10,000 years. Watching my daughter's birth, that was huge. I wrote a piece about her, Ramona. The times I got a standing O, La Salamandra, 76, California Hall, San Fran, 77, Unitarian Hall, North Berkeley, 78, 1111 Pearl, Boulder, Naropa, 1980, Liberty Lunch, Austin, Texas, 81, Court Tavern, New Brunswick, 1987, Cherry Valley Beat Festival, 98, Woodstock Rec Center, 2018. Oh yeah, and more, but this homage is more than braggadocio. Hearing for the first time for what it's worth, all radios attuned going up the Panhandle, there's something happening here. 15 minutes later, walking over the hill and seeing the other heads, tens of thousands at the first human being in 1967, and oh, hallelujah, when you said yes, oh, happy night, 2011, and we both had in the autumn of our lives in the car, outside the dancing club, true love, total love, all out love. Yes, yeah, yes. Someone who would love me as much as I loved her. ecstasy dervishing my crazed skin, overwhelmed by the perfect divinity of her face. I nearly fainted in the whirling realization of my immaculate fortune and destiny. Oh yeah, when I heard the Navy shrink say, they'd never make a Marine out of me again. This is called 1621. I used to be able to write alive a mason laying brick, capture his dignity, the gritty beauty. A mother scrubbing the water closet, a mother nursing the baby, the infant's face, a friendly native in an exotic country extending a helping hand. I'd be moved by a brown 20-year-old will be right back sign on an abandoned storefront on North Kinsey Street in Chicago, 68. Moved by the sounds someone shot a dog at the dumps and hadn't finished the job up to McKenzie in Oregon, 69. I could change the colors of the Wyoming sky by naming them aloud, 97. I could write about a flat tire in the middle of the New Jersey Turnpike on acid, go to the top of the Empire State on it. I could smell the blood seeping, sweating out the crevices in the rock at Limekiln Creek, Big Sur. I could create 10,000 unique smells of India. I could bring the message of the sadhu in his naked, smoky, ashen devotion. I could persuade you to see Caravaggio paintings plead, not guilty. As does Botticelli, I would detail the desolation of misappropriated and misapplied socialism, communism. I'd tell what went down in Russia, China, Yugoslavia, Hungary, Chile, Cuba, Mongolia, Venezuela, and Bolivia. I could syncopate the music of the gut, the honor that wins a heart, the freedom discovered in jazz, the real grievances of the blues, the rhapsody of Tartar squeeze boxes, the drums and flutes of the ancient electric face of sexual space, place, the harvest of trumpets, the Jerichos of the mind, the rollicking, rolling, righteous, it's getting better, crazy, 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 Pollyanna gone daft, hugging the moon in an empty mirror. I could hero worship my lover and catalyze a salubrious, intoxicating rhythm that purified and sanctified the bed and brook. I archived the carnal dialogue for when we need it. I researched the broken vow and broke the spell of the broken bell from hell. I could for a while believe like Pascal in God. Why not? He, she, it is everywhere. It is the actions treasured in the word. And the aromas and adrenaline of the track of Bukowski, Jimmy Lyons, Jack Michelin, the discoveries of the dream shovels, the roar of a grain of sand, the screams of the hungry ghost birds. I was capable of embodying a generation. I saw a cultural revolution mature, roar, and dissipate in grieving silence or loud whimpering the entire in my lifetime. Like a voice in the neon wilderness over the changing paved overland, I orated my abhorrence of the massacres and culture-destroying subjugation of native peoples and their way of life. I described the battles to open the heart of the maligned and the indoctrinate, and was overwhelmed by the pains which inhabited the atmosphere I punctured with my belated lamentations. Never gave up the idea it could be good. I could make you think Walt Whitman was in the room, pointing out our mistakes while singing the body electric. I could rap about how, as a people, we progressed and prospered to liberty, glory, peace, freedom, and collective sanity and joyous change. But tonight, January 6, 2021, nothing. Here's one called, a short one, called Walt Whitman. Whitman's clear. One doesn't have to wonder what is this poem about. ever. And here's the greatest line that I ever wrote. All's well that ends. Okay, I got a couple more, not that long. We will live to, this is an abridged version of We Will Live to Dance Again. Oh, you were special, flaunting that bare shoulder with spinning moves in the drum circle on the country tavern hardwood in the meadow of magic round the fire. High stepping the electric hoedown and the slow dance, intricate hands elegantly mudra quality motions of cleansing and cherishing. That Blakean smile of smiles, welcoming eyes, emanating desire is tonic, is health. When I first felt the back of your thighs and your glutes, somehow and why I knew and stated, wow, you have the good stuff. My friend warned me you were demure. No, you wanted it as much as I. And your face resembling so Bernini's St. Teresa, espousing and exposing what the ideals of the day made into spiritual orgasm, into strong sought-after lovers, Mary Wollstonecraft and her daughter Mary Godwin Shelley, and you loved and produced ebullient language, rocking, rolling blues that birthed jazz and symphony in classic form. No, I am blessed. We too deplored the establishment, 4 kids and big breasts and the face I've always adored since puberty. The gates of Eden beckon. Men and women are enthralled. I would learn the heavy heat deep in the ambrosial bath of my main tool, exhibiting a mind of its own and your gypsy skirt dervish. Men and women are enthralled in homage to the traditions you evoke. The future radiates your cheeks. I watch you change apparel. Your skin orchestrates my fingers. I put my eyeballs into your nipples. It feels good. In a motel room, in a pup tent, in the guest room, in the car, in the otherworldly grand Tetons, jackrabbits and tumbleweeds going apeshit. Oh, delicious skin. Oh, fragrant nape. We can't rally. We're inside, wary of touching the outside. The spoken air is a danger. Singing in the church choir could be a ticket to the afterlife. This life on earth is a riddle only solved by death. And what kind of answer is that? Yet for a moment, all the gloom evaporates when you let your jeans fall to your ankles. When you put your mammalia on my buzzard-baked face and you soft touch my testicles, because of you, I'm still here, saying the great escape is still alive. I think humanity will find a way from the sickening place it created. It may take millennia, and it may end any day, owing to the damage to the air, earth, water. Yet humanity could and may survive to a harmonious collective will, yet free-minded destiny. And you know why? You know, me and you and me, that is why, in the drum circle, on the country tavern hardwood floor, in the meadow of magic, it is the lovers who deserve life, and we will dance again. Okay, I have one more, 2.5 minutes, I guess. What I want to sing, that this narcissistic clown could put the world in such apocalyptic danger, misery, and tyranny is indictment of many USA people, selfish, diseducated. They let it happen. Yes, you heard right. You let it happen. I want to pen, awed and adoring, the magnificence of the intricate rock formations of windswept Wyoming, the wonderful benevolence of the golden beaches of the Golden State, the diverse shades of green upstate New York, the magisterial, austere aspen mountains of Colorado. I want to spy a puma and live to write about it. The electric ferns of the Oregon Cascades, the intoxicating rhythms of every major city's Harlem, like Whitman, like Lorca, like Senghor, like Springsteen, like David Henderson and Lou Reed, like Sapphire. I want to praise New York's promise and energy. I want to extol non-polluting fuel, organic agriculture. I want to sing America the Beautiful without my face and torso turning into a sobbing mess. I want to sing and tap the bongos to This Land Is Your Land. I want to have immense fun like the Beat Generation. I shudder when Alan, Gregory, Ray, Janine, Lenore, Diane, Bob, Lerner, Jack would feel alive this moment. Yes, the promise of America is being killed and fast. Could you allow this work-avoiding club gang cult of Fauntleroy, pansy-ass, wimpy yet heartless bullies to become an institution? I mean, look at Mnuchin, McConnell, and Humpty Dumpty POTUS. Miller, Stone, Sanders, the preacher's daughter, Pompous Pompeo, and the bimbos. These are our torchbearers? These that commit to the committers of senseless murder? That beat innocent people and advocate it? The avoided up police that become judge and jury, that administer major punishment for minor crimes? That lets all the Bush blockheads frustrated coitus explode with a dead orgasm of undeserved hatred. From fist to lethal weapon, this is how they get off. We are not a nation. We are a place. Young philosopher, Matto.
Andy Clausen in the house, along with Pam Twining and Danny Schatz and David Cope from Grandville, Michigan. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Thanks for bearing with the bomber, and which I would dedicate Andy's poem on about January 6th to the bomber, who knows nothing about bombing properly. So thanks everybody. Thanks to Geneva Caruso at the Detroit Public Library for helping us with this. The next event on the Living Room series is sort of a special event. It's going to be on Sunday, December the 11th at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And we're going to have John Densmore of The Doors from Los Angeles, California, and along with Ruben Guevara, who was originally with Ruben and the Jets. He has a great memoir. And let me mention that Ruben's book and John Densmore's books will be at the Book Beat signed. So if you want to get, and there's not a ton of them, of course, but if you want to get one signed by John Densmore and a copy of Ruben's book signed by him, they are there. Yes.
I think you meant April 11th, didn't you?
Yeah, what did I say?
December 11th.
See, Andy's got me shook. You shook me.
I think you've been smoking something. Check
Just,
out the jams.
yeah, and that's not a bomber. That's just David.
I was wondering, December.
All right, thanks everybody. Not December 11th. It's a week from this coming Sunday. So thanks, and we'll see you back then, hopefully with no bombers and also easier to get into. Thanks, Danny, Pamela, and David, and of course Andy. And when they come back this way, you've got to catch the Andy Pamela show live as they were last time they were in Detroit. It was
That would be fun.
okay. Thanks everybody.
Can't wait to get back to the old hometown.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everyone. Good night.
Oh, James. Hi, Nancy.
Bye.